All right, everything for Mama Nyina Akwaba. Edinburgh platform is so Medin Edimagina Kwesi. And a conversation no ye baby din komonia share between NDC and NPP. I mean, Oba Ghana ha. Ade ye nimni say. But I see we a political witch hunting, political attack, and what of you? Internet, I have taken the trouble upon myself to ask, to find out from 2000, that is under President Agyekum Kufuor-era, to date, which government have prosecuted its follows more, its opponent in this our political dispensation. Political party being and are prosecuted in others from President Agyekum Kufuor to date. I'm doing this because many people believe say it's like NDC is being biased towards some people, and I don't really believe that. So we want to go into the archives and check, that is between NDC and NPP from 1992, they have been in government, right? So which political party has prosecuted more people? So say when we are able to identify data, then we will get to know more information. So let us all sit behind our, I don't know where you are watching, whether you are watching on phone or watching or TV. So intimem preo tamukuchu neti nkomona menu obidi, because nkomona mpesa menu obidi is very, very important and very, very key, which you need to watch the show. And I believe say show no you get to know more information, maybe a high deal. Don't rush, just stick and stay for more information. If you leave, why you're home? Because I have a lot for you today or tonight. So wherever you are watching, kindly let me know and bring your opinion. I'm coming to present some facts. Some facts. I mean facts that you need to listen, you need to watch and take a clue from it. So do not do a mistake. Say obeko baby then say obetina ha na wati nkomo na ye ba bedi no. We are starting from 2000, the year 2000. President John Agyekum Kufuor took over from Jerry John Rawlings as president, because Jerry John Rawlings from the 1992 started the Republic Constitution under the Fourth Republic from 1993. He won first term, and in 1996 he won again. So his tenure ended 2000. So the contest was between Professor Mills and John Agyekum Kufuor. And John Agyekum Kufuor won the election for NPP and formed the government. Now, this conversation has become necessary because recently you heard, say, minority for can say, the current government, you sue the law, to fight against the NPP. Is that the case? And until I map to a boss here, me did this conversation no ever. We all take time and understand the details. So the political prosecutions from 2000, that is John Agyekum Kufuor, Professor Mills, John Mahama, Nana Addo, Mahama. We want these statistics for something very, very important. And I believe that you will love to hear the fact that I'm coming to lay down. So after the presentation, I believe that you will get better understanding of whatever I'm coming to present to you. So do not worry yourself, say, where rush it, no leave. This analysis is practical records of the NPP and NPP from 2000 to date, examining how different administrations use the court to enforce accountability and prosecute high-profile cases. This broadcast is just to set the record straight. Who have really fought and prosecute high-profile cases since 2000? Which government have prosecuted more high-profile political cases in Ghana? This is not shouting. We have to take time and go through the records, what the record says. And I believe at the end of the presentation, you will get better understanding of what we are presenting today. Remember, this is KMTV. We will analyze the court convictions, the financial losses, and the political scorecards from Kufuor to Mahama. So do not worry yourself. So you are most welcome once again to KMTV. Tonight, we are asking the tough question. When politicians talk about fighting corruption and holding public offices accountable, or public officials accountable, which government actually brought high-profile figures to trial and secure convictions? Is it the NPP or the NDC? And I want you to stick and stay. Don't rush. You will know the objectives why we are doing this program. "24 years of high-profile prosecutions in Ghana. Administration." So I want us to discuss this devoid of political affiliation. Inti yenhwe. President John Agyekum Kufuor became the president in Ghana from 2001 because the election was held in 2000. So the country, the governance was handed over to him 2001, 7th January. So he started his leadership from 2001, taking the baton from the NDC. When President Kufuor took over, he took up some decision to prosecute some state officials, which determined causing financial loss to the state. Prison prosecution trend grew from 9,507 in 2000 to 14,128 in 2008. From 9,000 to 14,000 between 2001 to 2008. That was the former President Kufuor's era. Why was this? The government said zero tolerance. That was the benchmark. Zero tolerance for corruption. President Kufuor popularized the criminal code offenses of causing financial loss to the state. Notable convictions under President Kufuor. President Kufuor time no nipa ben na odom ko tumu. Malamisa 2001. Kufuor's own minister was convicted and sentenced to 4 years for the loss of $46,000, sending a message that his own cabinet was not immune. President Kufuor in 2001, at the Malamisa, ekotum, a sentence, a convicted, all because Omo can say are causing financial loss to the state with amount of $46,000 US. In the say President Kufuor and the government wanted to show a sign say enya idea no na ban no obeso so corruption, so because we declare zero tolerance for corruption. The master Malam Issa was the first to be convicted under President Kufuor's era, his own minister. Victor Solomon and Kwame Pepera, 2001 to 2003. Former Deputy Finance Minister and Finance Minister convicted over quarterly grain scandal, quality grain scandal, quality. Yet the Victor Solomon and the Kwame Pepera fiase, all because you say quality grains scandal say a brew and I say ibi was almost say brew a papa and I say that green a papa say ya to kwana ana mon o man no me cost spend this car. It was say omuko so financial loss to the state in the edo omuko tum Victor Solomon and a Kwame Pepera. That was 2001, between 2001 and 2003, after the conviction of Malam Issa. And to be said, was it a sacrificial lamp? No, me Malam Issa just to portray, say, indeed, won't spare the government mu nipa biana. And after that, Dan Agbodakwe, 2007, former trade minister sentenced to 10 years over 400,000 US dollars in state funds. Dan Agbodakwe was a former trade minister. Kufuor sentenced him to 10 years imprisonment over what they claim financial loss near 400,000 US dollars. Then times. It was huge money though. And according to the government then says that they cannot look unconcerned about that figure. So Dan Agbodakwe was sentenced to prison for 10 years. Dan Agbodakwe, former trade minister, was sentenced to 10 years. The controversial conviction baako sentence baako about Ghana was Kufuor-era in 2008. The former GNPC boss sentenced to 5 years later set aside years later on appeal. Kufuor-era, President Kufuor is sentenced him for 5 years, and he went for appeal, and a years later reduced over what they term causing financial loss to the state. Now a GNPC boss. All I'm mentioning is under President John Agyekum Kufuor's era. You see, under Kufuor, the state aggressively tested the financial law. It secured landmark convictions against opposition figures and even sacrificed a sitting minister. According to archives, Malam Isa, there was a sacrificial lamb just to portray, say, indeed, Malam Isa, a minister from his own government, have been convicted. Therefore, say, apart from that, all the convictions now, Yabubo, Kwampepra, Dan Agbodakwe, Victor Solomon, they were all their opponent. But hardly did we hear NDC criticize, say it was political witch hunting sentencing. So he left office. His tenure came to an end in 2008, where Professor Mills won the election and took over from him in 2009, 7th January to 2012, because on his journey as president, he died on the way. Let's look at the battle of legal evidence versus judgment debt. President Mills buying at the time, it me 5 years. The same to me winning a court. Prison population trend stabilized at around 13,500 inmates and will take over. Remember, say Professor Kufuor time no 14,000. Until Professor Mills ebe G, people in sentence, it withdrew about 13,000 instead of 14,000, about 13,500. So it did not increase. Convictions did not increase. So the pursuit of accountability. The Mills administration launched a high-profile investigation into former NPP appointees such as former Foreign Minister Kufuor-era. Cause setback. Most high-profile cases ended in acquittals or dismissal due to insufficient evidence, leading to political friction over the Attorney General's handling of cases. Professor Mills Besum na semi Rebecca Court Biano na akweti aban. Said they were not having enough evidence to prosecute those cases. So it became a topical issue. People were discussing it. People were making so many discussions. Say, into ma pressure beto a year Attorney General. So you see, so Professor Mills was not able to prosecute his opponent. One of the judgment debt cases, the legal landscape was dominated by civil claims and judgment debt, most notably the Alfred Wayomi case. Notable one, no, Alfred Agbeshi Wayomi case. 51 million Ghana cedis. Ote, near CNT says it can be the we are say by. That case was, NPP full womb, NDC full womb. So it was a very complicated issue. Professor Mill couldn't sentence Wayomi and co. The Mills era show how difficult it is to win criminal convictions against political opponents in court, despite high public expectations. The state suffered several legal setbacks. Until Professor Mills Australia went to me. I'm winning any of the cases, high profile. Into a discussion in the public. DNA kosi ade intwato so na ne de. And the designer in the year 2013 to 2016, NDC came back again. This time was not Professor Mills. The running mate, the vice president, John Dramani Mahama, took over from him because he lost his life on the way. So we are coming to see how many cases did the government won. How many high profile cases came to light that days. Judicial reforms and high profile contempt. Prison population trend from 13,487 in 2012 to 14,368. So, Professor Mills feel John Mahama take you see a little or slightly increase be by to 2016. Remand population dropped from 21% to 16.9%. Remand population. Prison and judicial cleanup expanded the Justice for All program, setting up mobile courts outside prison to process long-standing remand cases. During John Dramani Mahama era, there was introduction of Justice for All program. Because when you go to our court then, many of them were remand prisoners. So government instituted Justice for All program to make sure that the courts take a look at them, those who need to be free and go back to the society or grant bail, then the justice for all system. So it enabled the court to reduce the numbers. You see, we are going. So the Anas Expose 2015, the administration oversaw one of Ghana's biggest judicial scandal when investigation journalist Anas Amiriya Anas exposed systematic corruption leading to removal of dozens of judges. Muntie 3 case 2016. Salif Umasi, Mugabe, and 2 panelists were convicted of contempt by Supreme Court and sentenced to 4 months in prison before receiving presidential pardon under Article 72. Mahama's first term focused heavily on structural judicial reforms, lowering the remand inmate population while navigating landmark cases like Anas Judge Expose and the Muntie 3 Supreme Court trial. And John Mahama prosecuted his own minister. That was one. So let us look at Akufo-Addo era, 2017 to 2024, NPP. Institutional innovation and corporate anti-corruption convictions. Prison population trend. Total inmate reached 14,991, with conviction prisoners making up 88.5% to 13,210, and remand dropped to 8.3%. Creation of Special Prosecutor. Establishment of Office of the Special Prosecutor to independently handle corruption cases. Notable convictions: Abu Gapeli and Philip Azabit, 2018. Former JIDA head and private contractor sentenced to 6 years and 12 years respectively for financial loss to the state under President Akufo-Addo. Though that case, na John Dramani Mahama era no, na omu pursue dada. Nti finalize no, isi ewo Akufo-Addo's era. William Atto Asian, 2022 to 2023, Capital Bank founder, convicted over 90 million and sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. Ashawan, 2023, high-profile conviction of a Chinese Galamsey queen, 4.5 years, 4.5 years imprisonment. Treason trial. 2024, 6 individuals sentenced to historic high treason trial. Legislative milestone: abolish the death penalty of ordinary crime in 2023. The Kufuor era shifted focus towards institutional specialization, with the OSP alongside major convictions targeting bank sector figures and illegal mining. President Mahama tenure 2025, NDC, Pora system, non-custodial sentencing, or focusing. So we are still looking at how to decongest our court system. Prison population as of now is 14,800 to 15,000 100, with remaining prisoners remaining low because of justice for all system. Penal system reforms, implementation of formal parole system and community service options to relieve overcrowding in major prisons. Yes, sir. And now we are born bi wo ho a ye be more serve community no. Na ye jaw so obekwa da prison na ho aye choke. Audit enforcement, dedicated special high court divisions to fast-track financial recovery based on Auditor General findings, digital and public order, prosecution, increase enforcement around social media offenses, section 207/208 of the Criminal Offences Act, including high-profile prosecution of digital content creators for false news and public order violation. Today, the debate turned to how modern technology and non-custodial sentences and digital law are reshaping the Ghanaian judicial and penal system. So, KMTV views that what is the verdict? The NPP point to aggressive prosecution under Kufuor and structural development like OSP under Akufo-Addo. NDC point to systematic prisons reforms, judicial cleanup, and human rights focused panel policies, which approach truly strengthens Ghana's rule of law. Your thought on this? This is KMTV. So if Chama went to me today, I will court, and then I call na sentence, then you come and say that was a political witch hunter. Do you know what you are saying? If you prosecute Wontumi, we say, oh, for Wontumi, you did it under emergency, fast. Are we not the one who are saying that we want our cases to be heard early so that people, we decongest, that will help us decongest our courts? So this is a big question for us all to ask ourselves. Thank you for watching KMTV. I really appreciate your contribution.